we have a great panel for our second wave. We have Gene Smith and James Castleman and Bora Winkle and Gary Arant. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna begin with Gene Smith. He's the Vice President of Marketing at Hunter Industries, and if there was ever a company that is drought related, this is the one.
I am going to take just a few minutes to tell you a little bit about who Hunter is and why we're a part of North County and why we think it's important to be very involved in water conservation. Obviously, the pie graph that was shown had a lot of outdoor water use on the use for that's current potable water use. So I just want to take you through a little bit of why, or some of the innovations that we're doing. And by the way, California's issue with water right now is in timing California's issue. It's been an issue here for quite some time. There have been similar issues in plenty of places across the globe. Australia has been in problems for a long time. We're a global company. Australia might not be in the problem right now, but they fortunately learned about 10 to 12 years ago that water for landscape use needs to be done wisely. And we've helped them through that as a part of our history. And the products that I'm going to show you today or talk about today to help you get there were really developed as a part of Australia. So then it happened in Atlanta, in Georgia, when Lake Lanier was nearly empty. And then they got a bunch of rain, and hopefully they haven't forgotten. I don't think that they have. And then Lake Travis in the watersheds that feed a lot of the cities down in South Texas had some big problems. Right now, we're having a hard time selling product there right now because contractors can't go to work because it's too wet, because they're really trying to, how do we get rid of this water? So it fluctuates, but nonetheless, this problem exists. And I'm proud to be a part of San Diego County and California in general for the response that we've made. And I believe that it will stick. I know there's a lot of complexity to the things that we've talked about today. It's super interesting to me, and I very much appreciate being able to tell you a little bit about Hunter and what's going on there specifically. And if I can do this right, I've already talked here. If you want to know more about what's going on with our products, I'm going to hint a little bit more about them, just a little bit. I'm going to try to leave you, because I'm in marketing. I mean, I love the Love Tap. That's awesome. I drink tap water. I'm so glad that there's programs like that exist out there. We need to keep it simple. We need to keep it in phrases like Love Tap and remind people that, hey, this water is safe. Great, I love that. I also love the tan your lawn or give your lawn a tan. That was interesting as well. Just a little bit about Hunter. A lot of jobs in San Diego County, and a great culture at Hunter. We love Cal State San Marcos, UCSD, San Diego State. A lot of the local universities provide us with a lot of our engineering talent and a lot of the folks that are working at Hunter. We love to hire local people, and we're pretty proud of what we've got going on there culturally at Hunter Industries. The product that I'd like to mention there, this is the Padre saving a ton of water, and gone through and done a complete retrofit of the field and the grounds that are surrounding with Luke Yoder. Luke pays very, very close attention to water conservation. We partner with Luke, with local designers, and have been able to take what was a spray system, which puts water down at a rate that typically causes runoff and water wasted. We all hate to see it. You retrofit to a product that we have now, and again was developed for the crisis really in Australia back 10 years ago. And you can save water and still irrigate in certain types. Of course, plant choice is the choice regionally that we have to be very, very careful with. Whatever plant palette you choose, we can still help you irrigate it in a way that uses the least amount of water to still achieve a landscape result. So there's a lot there that can vary in what I just said, but we've got the product to help you get there. The slogan of Slow the Flow: put down water at a rate much closer to the absorption rate of the soil so that the water can arrive where it needs to. That is the root zone of the plant material. We've got plenty of companies out there like Nisho, like the design folks that are here from the irrigation consultant community that get this. And it's just a matter of continuing to push this type of idea. This is a product. There's more you can find out on the website. An innovation that's been brought recently is a subsurface mat of drip irrigation. Basically, you're wetting grandma's old coat that we've turned into a mat, fabric mat, and we've got drip irrigation running through it. It provides nearly 100% uniformity if you think about things like that. Water is provided under the surface where the plant root is located, and it's very low maintenance, relatively high cost of installation. That's one of the barriers to use. However, it's an innovation that we've brought to the industry that will allow you. Now, there we show turf. Maybe turf, it's because we sell all over the world. Turf may not be the thing that goes over the top of it here. You can put other kinds of plant material. It will grow to it and establish, and they will survive, and you don't have any overhead irrigation. You won't even know that it's there, but it definitely allows you to still develop a great landscaping. And I would say another slogan that's really important is simplicity saves. Keep it simple. We've got devices that are scientific pieces of equipment, and they're for the specialty use for those that are near scientists in our industry, and they exist. However, the device on your left is a device that's used throughout residential landscaping and successfully used. I see these hooked up and working. They're wireless. They're easy for a contractor to install on a Hunter controller, and they control the amount of irrigation that happens on the site based on the demand from the environment, temperature, relative humidity, things like that. These folks are the folks that I admire most in our industry. They're the folks that are out on the front lines that are getting it done. They are committing to education. They're finding out how to install the technologies that we have, and these are the folks that are really getting it done. We're manufacturing products for them. This happens to be up at Camp Pendleton site, a redo of some property that they did there. Some great stuff being done that really conserves water, but yet still generates a very, very beautiful landscape. Again, just a picture of the slow the flow. I just want to conclude my time by saying, of course, that lush is a regional term. It's a regional thing. As much as we might want an outdoor living experience that looks like that, that's not where we live. And so I think we all know that. However, look at how beautiful this is. This is La Jolla Commons. This is right here in our county. This is very, very low water use, and in my opinion, it's very beautiful, and I think can be accomplished. So that is my time, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Our next speaker is James Castleman. He's with Gilead Sciences. I always think of balm when I hear Gilead. I guess it's my Sunday school training. This is a research-based biopharmaceutical company, and it has plant operations in Oceanside, and it's a somewhat different perspective. James is a veteran with the Marine Corps. He retired with the rank of lieutenant colonel, and he's going to tell us how his company has been adapting and to the drought.
I didn't bring slides because I absolutely wanted to avoid the 2-week legal review. That would have been necessary to get slides. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we do and how glad we are to be in North County, and some of the actions we've undertaken, to be responsible and to save water as a humble business and employer within North County, because we are very grateful to be here. And Logan was right, Gilead and the healing balm with the leaf, that is a logo to the company, so he was dead on there. But for us, water is king. We cannot be a biopharmaceutical, production operation without, access to water. And I can say that in the early 2000s, the access to water in North County is what brought the biopharmaceutical industry to Oceanside. That was when IDEC Pharmaceuticals moved from the Torrey Pines area up into Oceanside, there at the corner of Corporate Center Drive and Avenida de la Plata. And now Oceanside, North County, and San Diego County as a region has two very large biotech companies within the region, and that's very unique. You can get up into Los Angeles, they have it as well, and then you get up into the Bay Area. But we're here in the Oceanside, North County area because of the availability to water. And our process, what we do, we use a batch fermentation process. So if you've been out to Stone Brewery and you've seen the large fermenters, or you've been to any of the microbreweries along the Hops Highway out here, we use the same types of fermenters to grow cells that have been specifically targeted to help patients who have unmet medical needs in the oncology, the fibrosis areas, or also in the inflammation areas. But we take water off of the street. You know, it comes in through the pipes just like it comes into your house, and not unlike your home, we run it through a water softener. We don't stop there. After we get it in the water softener, we run it through a continuous deionization process to further extract minerals that are in the water. And then after that, we run it through a reverse osmosis purification unit, much like Poseidon is doing. You saw the 17,000 membranes that they're going to install, so we do that. And then we run it through a distillation process. So we have a very elaborate water treatment process that we go through because the patients that we serve have compromised immune systems. They cannot take the water that comes off of the street. They can drink it, but if you inject it into their bloodstream, then it can cause problems. So that's why we go through the number of safeguards that we do. And in the conduct of, you know, handling our water and running our plant, we are always thinking about how do we conserve? What can we do to reduce the amount of water that we're using? I'm not going to stand up here and tell you how much we have saved in dollars, because I'm less concerned about that. I'm more concerned about what are we doing as good stewards by conducting business within North San Diego County. A number of years ago, when we clean our, when we clean our bioreactors, we have to use validated cleaning cycles. It's like what you're doing in your dishwashing machine, but you know, at a much higher level of clearance, and it has to be verified that we have cleared everything out of that tank, because you don't want carryover from one batch of drug substance into another. It's like if you want to have a Pilsner and they were making smoked porter beforehand, you don't want smoked porter leaching into your Pilsner. Well, we can't have the same. We can't have that either out of patient safety. So we clean a lot. And we were experiencing a high rate of cleaning cycle failures where we would get partway into a cycle, and with the induction of the cleaning agents, we didn't have our parameters set correctly, and we were experiencing probably a 60% failure rate. So imagine if you started your dishwasher at home and 60% of the time it didn't complete the cycle. You wouldn't be happy. We weren't happy either. So we worked on that, and we got it dialed in to where our success rate is now, you know, greater than 90%, and we're saving, you know, just from that easily a million gallons of water a year, because when you fail a cycle, you need to dump it. You have to start over again. And that's something that we have done, and next year, what we're looking to do is we go through all of those stages of water preparation that I mentioned in the beginning. We consume water that we can then, we're evaluating running it out to our cooling towers that control our environment, and using that water to cycle out there to do our cooling tower blowdowns. And we're estimating if this is successful, we could probably save, you know, 1.5 million gallons additionally per year that way. So we're being very good stewards. We're very grateful to be in North County. We're grateful for what has been done in North County to diversify the water to ensure our access to it, because again, we are 100% reliant on water, and like I said in the beginning, water is king for us because it helps us meet the patient needs. So thank you.
Our next speaker is uniquely qualified to address this question you hear all the time. If the drought's so bad, why are we building houses? You know, that's I hear that almost daily, it seems. Bora Winkle is the president and chief executive officer of the San Diego Building Association, known as the BIA. He formerly he held the same position in Riverside. He's had some background in Wall Street. We won't hold that against him. And what we really won't hold against him is that he has a Bachelor of Science degree from Boston University in print journalism. So, Bora, it's all yours. Why are we building so many houses?
Delighted to be here. And sea of time to talk in 5 minutes, usually being told to shut up after 3 minutes at the podium at the city council near you. As you heard, I am, or maybe not heard, I'm Dutch. And if you ain't Dutch, you ain't much. I come from a very wet country, which is so ironic that I should then speak at a drought. In fact, we have so much water that it's a threat. The Dutch are living in a continent that sinks because the continental shelf tips in favor of the British cliffs on Dover. So I grew up behind the dikes, and there is no statue of a little boy that prevented worse with the finger plugging something. Winston Churchill, the most quoted man ever, much of which he said he never actually said, but he did go to Holland before World War II and was asked what the weather was like, and he said, oh, it's great. He was there for a week, by the way. It was great. It rained first for 3 days, and then it rained. Oh, sorry, I screwed that one up. He said only rained twice. I already gave it up. Never got it. Anyway, the point is, it rained only twice. First for 3 days, then for 4 days. All right, blew that one. Yeah, why should we be building homes during a drought? And that's a drought in building. Sandac informs us that in order to keep up with the natural population growth rate, which is internally 80% internally driven, we require 12,000 units. I'm not making a distinction whether these people should live in rental units or in single-family residences. And as you can see from the recession ending 2006, we're not keeping up with just housing the population of San Diego. And I'm very concerned about this because what we have a drought of in San Diego is entry-level housing. We are only building homes for people who can pull a mortgage north of $500,000. And we worry a lot about affordable housing. So those are the two types of housing we're building. Subsidized housing and homes where price is not the issue. And that's a really sad comment of the state of affairs of San Diego. And I'm telling you that we will never again build entry-level housing in San Diego. It's not possible because the cost of governance, that is a factor of the production cost of housing, has crossed the 40 percentile threshold. It takes 40 cents on the dollar to pay government fees and governance in order to develop and build a house held for sale or for lease. That is why we are only building homes north of $500,000 and up. We're also building a lot of apartments units because these are the people who used to buy a house and are now living in a rental unit. As these numbers show, the market is flipped in favor of rental units. Now, understand that the city of Vista is particularly sensitive to rental unit construction. But, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to house your workforce, if you want to house retirees, if you want to house the millennials, you're going to have to build apartments, or they're going to go back to Riverside, where even according to Bloomberg, rentals have skyrocketed so high that that the people who we would normally build a house for to buy are now spending their down payment savings on rent, and that's going on in San Diego, and it's a crying shame. Now, why would you then build in San Diego? Well, first of all, the numbers are immaterial, construction permit-wise, in the great scheme of things. When you add 6,000 to 8,000 housing units a year to San Diego's 1.2 million existing housing stock, do the math. That's 1/2 of 1%. You cannot save water with shutting down 1/2 of 1%, and we're not going to be building back to the levels that you see up here. These are clearly the liar loans and the easy money that came into the market and flushed. That's also never going to happen again. I'm easy with saying never. I'm pretty comfortable with that. What does a new house use that we build today? It uses, for say, a 3-bedroom, single-family residential house, typically uses indoors 46,000 gallons of water per year. What does a house use that was built in 1980 and earlier? Double that amount. So there's an argument to be made that you actually, by building a new house, you are saving water because you're pulling people who used to live in San Diego, again, this 80% internal growth rate, you're pulling them out of the older housing stock, which is water thirstier, and you're putting them into what I would call the Prius of water conservation. I mean, if we ran out of gasoline, we wouldn't stop building the Prius, would we? You should keep this in mind, because this is why your children will not be living in San Diego. This is why your parents are going to have to move out as well. This is a slide that the County Water Authority gave us. You saw it already. This makes the point why shutting down growth doesn't help the water consumption, because this slide tells you that as we were adding population and housing units, water consumption went down in absolute terms. And why did that happen? Is because building codes every cycle get more stringent. So the new homes got the sexier, what's sexy in a house? Let's call it the washers. We are now introducing the washers where you look into the washer this way, not that way, right? And those use a lot less water. We also have low flow faucets, toilets, not the ones that you have to flush 5 times in order to get number 2 down, okay? and as I speak about faucets and low flow toilets, that accounts for 70% of the water savings on the typical house. So if we were to look at the existing housing stock at the 1.2 million units that are out there, it would really make sense to have an aggressive rebate program, because for $2,000 you can take that house that was built in 1980s and earlier, of which half the housing stock of San Diego is comprised of. There are 650,000 housing units in San Diego that were built prior to 1980. If a $2,000 rebate program existed that would switch out those faucets, kitchen, bathroom, switch out the toilet, introduce a $400 circulation on demand hot water pump, water consumption would drop dramatically. You would get that house to the same building standard of water use as new home does. That, in my view, is a robust savings program. What also doesn't make sense, on the landscaping side, you know that we are being required to install micro drip and irrigation and drip irrigation, and that's all fine, and that will be a big deal. But for the fact that we're not building single-family residential homes anymore. We're building apartments. Apartments don't have outdoor water use. So it's great that on a statewide level we are converting back to drip, or going to drip and to micro sprinklers. But in San Diego, we're not going to get much savings out of that meaningfully. It looks good. Well, does it look good? Looking good is an important thing here. We do need to go let our lawns go brown, because we're obsessed about green and fresh in California, and that in by itself is important. While I'm on the topic of browning out, we also need to be smart about what we pull out. I drive to my office in the old defense contracting area of Kearny Mesa Boulevard. There's a clover leaf over there, and I don't know who took out the landscaping over there. It was these ice plants. I bet you they're spending $500,000 on putting stone architecture over there to save a water bill of $500. That's what we shouldn't be doing. This rush to rip out lawn and to replace it with something that we don't even know how it grows. We really should be do a better job at educating people that brown on the lawn is okay. It's okay. And I'd like to go on a little bit longer. I'm here to tell you that shutting down the residential industry, home construction, is not the answer. This is the answer, because this slide tells you that we're failing to build the housing units we need to accommodate our own population. And I don't think that we are as arrogant as a community to say, you know what, you're welcome to work here, but don't expect to live here. But that is, in practical terms, happening. We are sending people away. It happens all around us. Young people it's a sad story. You have a kid, that kid, unless you have a large down payment ready and savings for him, will not live in this community. So keep that in mind. Ironically, you build more houses, you actually drop water consumption in the greater scheme of things. Thank you for letting me indulge you, and thank you, EDC, for having me over.
Our final speaker is well-known, Gary Arant. He, for 16 years, he's been the Valley Center Municipal Water District General Manager. Before that, he was with Rincon del Diablo.
I get to make one water comment, then I'll talk about farming. This is my 4th drought in my career, and what I'm always interested in is how quickly the conversation switches from how did we get here and what do we need to do to correct this situation, into some moral relativism about how we use water. Should we use water to grow cotton, or should we build houses? And the focus should really be, what do we need to do to make sure that we secure our future water supply? That's what we really need to talk about. At the state level, we've done the job in the region, but we need to focus on that. It's fun to do slogans and gadgets, but we need to focus on why we're in the situation we find ourselves in. Eric asked me to speak for him today. I'm not with the Farm Bureau. We're a member of the Farm Bureau. But since 70% of our water still goes to agriculture in Valley Center, I think he thought I would have an affinity for this topic, and I do. An earlier speaker said that ag has been a really important part of San Diego's history and heritage. It is, and it's still an important part of its current economic structure today. National rankings, San Diego County farming is 19 in counties nationwide, 19 in farm economy, #1 in nursery production, #1 in avocado production, #1 in small farms, #1 in organic farms, and #1 in farmers with off-farm income. The farm gate value, this stops in 13. I know that in 2014, the farm gate value, the products leaving the farm, was worth $1.9 billion. It's steadily increased over the years. Some of the top crops we have in San Diego are ornamental plants, avocados, tomatoes, lemons, eggs, cut flowers, berries, oranges, herbs, vegetables. Also, we have an emerging wine industry. We hear a lot about our breweries, but we have an emerging grape growing and wine industry in San Diego County. San Diego County farming has a lot of benefits to our local community. The $1.9 million farm gate value translates into a $5 billion economic impact on the region, creates 30,000 jobs both on and off farm, has environmental benefits, air quality, fire suppression, open space, wildlife corridors, and it's a hedge against urbanization. Sorry, BIA. Community character, and like I said, there's a rich history of agriculture in San Diego County. We create local products, farmers markets. A lot of the restaurants are going to, serving local produce and products. And it creates a really unique ambiance here in San Diego County. We're unlike any other place where we have a rich mix of urban and agricultural lifestyles. Water use for agriculture in 2007 was 110,000 acre-feet of water. My district alone delivered about 50,000 acre-feet of agricultural, 50,000 acre-feet of water in that period of time. 2013 it was 50,000, less than half, and it continues to decline. And why? Well, we've lost a significant amount of agricultural acreage in production. Valley Center at one time had over 20,000 acres of agricultural production. We're now down to about 10. And there have been similar reductions in other agricultural areas. But the positive thing is that a lot of the reduction in usage has been efficiency that's been implemented by the growers, and also changing crops to use less water and to be higher value crops. The price of water has doubled in the last 6 years. It's nearly tripled in the last 11 years. Investments that the growers had to make to offset some of these costs have been expensive, and many of the older growers or the growers with older operations or lower value crops haven't made those investments, and as a result, we've had a lot of acreage go out of operation. This is Valley Center's water rates, but this is emblematic of what's happened in the region and what has happened with agricultural agencies such as Valley Center, Rainbow, and Fallbrook. Keep in mind that in typical growing operation, water is about 70 to 75% of their total cost of operation. So you have a business, farming is a business that have absorbed doubling and tripling of their raw material costs in a really short period of time, yet they still produce more farm gate value, and many of them still continue to farm. So some of the results, this could have been from Valley Center or Rainbow or Fallbrook or any agricultural area. This is a former avocado grove. We have a lot of this in Valley Center. If you want to see dead trees, come on up, we'll show them to you. This is a result of, Eric says, herd thinning, which means that, you know, when things get tough, the weak go away and the strong stay in and keep going. The farmers who are totally committed to farming keep finding a way to farm. You know, I've met a lot of farmers, and they seem like really intelligent people, but yet they continue to farm. The drought has been very difficult for the growers because they always count on a break from me starting in December through January, February, March, because it rains. Well, it hasn't rained in a while, and so they continue to buy imported water, and it's had a heavy impact on their bottom line. Also, we are getting less Colorado River, or less State Water Project water. The State Water Project that is coming into Southern California is going to the west side of the Met system. So essentially, we're delivering very close to 100% Colorado River water, which is saltier. And that impacts the productivity of the trees and the plants. And so they're also having an impact of that. And then because of the current water supply situation, our growers are being cut 15% under the transitional special ag water rate provided by the San Diego County Water Authority. It's better than 36%, which is what we were originally faced with, but 15% still is an impact to the grower. What have the growers done? They've done a lot of things. They spent a lot of time in innovation, research on how to grow crops more efficiently and cost effectively. Here's some of the things. You see we have a lot of nurseries in San Diego County. You can see the types of irrigation, pot irrigation, not pot irrigation. Drip tape, yeah. Where's the hemp guy? Oh. People say, what's the future of agriculture? I'd say it depends on the legalization of marijuana. Okay, drip tape, low water use drip tape. Individual watering of trees. Each tree gets its own watering unit. Soil moisture sensing. There's a lot of developments going on in coordinating irrigation with soil moisture sensing. And then also, they're always looking for innovative new fruits. How many have had dragon fruit? See? Yeah. Well, it's coming. They're finding crops that are lower in water use and more efficient, or more cost valuable. Also, they're revisiting some old crops. We see revitalization of old groves coming back with different root stocks, more lower water use root stocks, more resilient root stocks. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a wine grape industry coming in San Diego County. San Diego has the same isotherm as does Rancho California. In other words, we have the same climatic conditions, warm days, cool nights, which is beneficial to the grape growing. So we're seeing a lot of the land that has formerly been occupied with citrus orchards is converting to wine grapes. We have several wineries in Valley Center, and I know there's a number also in Ramona. As I mentioned, low water use plants, and then hydroponics. That's something that's coming along in the greenhouse industry and nursery industry. And then the last thing is what a lot of the avocado growers are doing is traditionally when the original avocado grows were established, they were planted at 20-foot centers of the trees. They're going back in and then replanting at 10-foot centers. And so what they're getting is with essentially the same amount of water use, they're doubling the crops production on the property, and that is the key to their survival. So agriculture keeps working away, trying to remain a vital part of San Diego County, so keep in mind that we have a lot of growers out there trying, like Eddie Grangetto there from Escondido, and lots of people from Valley Center trying to be farmers. So thank you very much.
We're running a little late, so I'm going to forego my own questions and give you 3 questions from the audience, and then we'll hear from Kimberly. Any questions of the panelists? Yes, sir.
You have the water shortage initiatives, and you also have the global warming initiatives, and it seems like we were managed to have a lot of landscaping around our properties to cool and to shade the buildings to keep the planet cooler. And now we're going to the zero landscaping, and it seems like, I mean, you walk across my neighbor's gravel yard lawn, it's really hot on your feet. And I can remember the old days when you could walk across there in your bare feet. So it seems like it's circular.
There's a contradiction there in the kind of the messaging. Who'd like to take a shot at that? Bora, you're the man, right?
Well, it was not dissimilar to a question that was raised by a gentleman, I believe, landscape architect, who said we were doing these detention basins where one agency requires us to do this, and yet another agency requires us to do that. That's California for you. I mean, often agencies don't talk to each other, and they have contradictory policy objectives. And I think that would be a very fertile ground for dialogue. I mean, let's streamline some of the agency objectives so that we're going down the same path, and not have one agency say use lots of water. I mean, stormwater in itself is an example. The new permit requires on-site infiltration as much as possible, but then you have the other side of the agency said, but we have to transfer coarse sedimentation downstream. So how can you do that? How can you both infiltrate, stop the water, and at the same time continue the flow of sand towards the beaches? And it's not dissimilar in the water world. Mm.
Yeah, this intersects. I'm going to write a column tomorrow about how insanely difficult it is to get recycled water into residential areas. We have all this water running through the purple pipes, and most of it goes out into the ocean. Why can't it be disseminated more efficiently? So, do you have any thoughts on that?
There are two different things in my mind, and I don't want to get into my opinion of the science, but shading a building is done with plants that we can irrigate with drip irrigation. Cooling a property with landscape material that's spread over a large area is done by evaporation of water out of that plant. To cool the local area, it takes a lot of water to do that. So when we talk about cooling the top of a building, and we have some landscape designs that go there, and sort of the cooling effect that can happen on a city and an urban area is different than maybe what we would talk about in the residential situation. We could talk about this for a long time, so that's all I have for now.
Okay, the moral of that is we're going to have another forum next week, and we're going to get around to it.
Logan, for those of you looking for common sense in the regulatory approaches of the state, you may be wildly disappointed. On Monday, May 5th, many of us were in Sacramento testifying for the state board the day they implemented the draconian regulations for water cutbacks. The next day, in their effort to help solve the long-term water supply problems in California, they implemented a new ocean plan, which made it much more difficult to do ocean water desal.
To wrap up today, we're going to hear from Kimberly Thorner. She's the general manager of the Alevenhain Municipal Water District.
Can you give me help me give a warm round of applause to both of our panels of experts today? So on behalf of the San Diego North EDC and all of the water agencies here, we want to thank you for spending your morning with us. We hope you walk away with a picture of how hard your public agencies are working to ensure that you have adequate water supply, and also how they're partnering with private entities to ensure that, and how conservation-minded all the businesses, the agriculture, and development are. I think Dr. Schultz talked about how we have a new conservation mindset, a new societal norm, and I think you're seeing that in the examples that are being given today. I think that's important, not just for us today, but also for our future generations. I also want to point out, at each of your sheets, there's a two-sided sheet of paper. This was prepared by all the water agencies that are sponsors today. It gives you the most up-to-date information on the water supply in San Diego County, what the cutbacks are at each of those agencies. And more importantly, on the backside, it shows you all of the rebates, incentives that are available to you, whether you're an individual, a farmer, or a business. I want to give a special thanks to Teresa Chase from OMWD for putting this together for us today. I'd also like to ask you to help me thank the EDC staff, Carl Morgan, Karen Pearson, and Stephanie Floyd for putting this event together today. Thank you, guys. You guys, as usual, flawless execution. You make this look easy. So, Valicitos and Olivenhain were title sponsors today, and one of us got to open the event and one of us got to close it. And I quickly raised my hand and I said, I want to close it. And you're like, all right, why do you want to close it? It's less prestigious. I wanted to be the one to thank Logan Jenkins today. As long as I can remember, he has been one of the wittiest and most thought-provoking journalists in North San Diego County. And I think as his moderator today, you saw that. He was witty, a touch snarky, intelligent, and fun. For many years, most of us have opened our papers, or more recently, you click your links to see if we, or anyone we knew, got a rose or a raspberry. And everyone's chuckling, and I know the ones who are chuckling, you've been recipients in the past. So I am tickled pink today to thank Logan for being our moderator, and I am honored to present him with a blue glass water rose on behalf of North County and all of us here today for all that you do, not just today as our moderator, but every day. So thank you. I do want to point out it's a water-wise glass rose. You put it in your garden. It does not require any water. Okay. Okay, am I supposed to? Okay. I do want to remind you, this is an EDC event, and I do want to remind you to mark your calendars for our next event, the new economy of aging baby boomers, and it'll be on September 29th from 7:30 to 10:30 a.m. So one of the quotes that was missing earlier today was that we don't understand the water's worth until the well is dry. But I'm going to argue that everybody here in the room today does understand water's worth, and they're working hard to ensure that we have the water that we need to live, work, play, and thrive here in North County. So with that, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.